Thank you very much, Gordon. I'm very pleased to follow David because really what I want to do, whilst using UCL as the example, because that, of course, is the organisation I'm associated with, I really want to show how a research-intensive university can interact in a way to provide the sort of support that David was talking about being required to link new technologies, new ideas, new IP to business, to innovate, to generate economic wealth for the society. UCL has a long history, and a long history of success in terms of innovation. It's the first UK secular university, so it dates back to 1826. And as you can see, we've made some quite interesting contributions to the wealth of the nation over a number of years. And, for example, ending up at this point at the bottom, identification of the binding receptor for HIV offers hope, ultimately, for ways of treating and potentially immunization against HIV, for example, which would have both economic but, of course, incredible global health opportunities. So we're an important institution in regard of what we've done. We are a large research-intensive environment. We've got about 4,000 academics and postdoctoral workers. These are recruited from around the world, so around 40% of these would come from outside of the UK. You can see the sort of things that have been achieved by our academics. Putting us in context, we are a very major player within the knowledge economy in terms of developing new ideas. We're seen as the top-ranked university in Europe by citation, top in neuroscience and second in the world. We came up very well in the last RAE, and in terms of the RAE, one can see that really with Oxford and Cambridge we're right up there, and we're fourth in the world in the Times Higher Education Supplement ranking of world universities. So all looks really wonderful. We've got a very strong research base. We're made up of 72 academic departments. We go from fine arts to medicine, and really one of the most important issues of UCL is the ability to develop major interdisciplinary centres that span a range of subjects. For example, the London Centre of Nanotechnology, that is a joint organisation set up with Imperial College, allows us to really concentrate not simply on the basic science of nanotechnology, but also its contribution to physics, material science, right the way through to medicine. And we have internationally renowned centres of excellence in the built environment, health, as shown by the bottom three. So really a major engine of new information generation, new ideas. However, for us to take full advantage of our university, we must find ways of addressing challenges that are of major societal importance. And David listed many of those in his keynote address. We aside from actually focusing on those, we need to be able to provide advice to government and major international bodies in terms of how they develop policies that are going to be of importance. As a consequence, UCL has developed a series of research grand challenges. Now, these grand challenges that are concerned with global health, sustainable cities, intercultural interactions, and well-being really, if you like, narrow down the range of issues that David mentioned in his introduction. And each one of these is strengthened by UCL's strong interdisciplinary strength, so that we can harness not simply medicine, life sciences, but economics, engineering, science, etc., and look at ways of hoping to contribute across all of these different domains. So that's a really quite important issue. But actually, in terms of going beyond the basic research to actually do things that are going to be of importance, we need to develop an innovation and enterprise culture. When I was appointed 4 years ago, UCL had by that time, as I showed in my very first slide, a history of innovation, developing commercial benefits and economic benefits. But our structure was disorganized, as is often the case in a university. People don't think about ways of harnessing together the enterprise innovation agenda. So the task for the last 4 years has been to try and move from a rather free-flowing, bottoms-up approach to beginning to get some top-down, not control, but direction to find ways that the institution can do more without expecting more necessarily in terms of input, in terms of funding from government agencies. Our first step in the process was really to empower our academic staff, make them realize that enterprise was really core to their activities. Yes, research and teaching, they're two primary goals, but they really had to understand that they were expected to interact in a much broader sense and see enterprise as an integral part of their activity. And now this forms an integral part of our appraisal of our staff. The next stage in the process was really to look at how could we engender an enterprise attitude, not only in our staff, but also in our undergraduates, because the students are going to be the people who actually change the world. We will make, as academics, will make incremental steps. But just as we've seen with the digital revolution over the last decade, where have Google come? Where have some organizations like that? They've come from the undergraduates rather than the grey-haired old men who tend to run academic departments. So we set up an organization called UCL Advances to develop the culture of business and entrepreneurship within both our undergraduates, postgraduates, and staff. That interacts with the second part of our operation, which is the rather more traditional tech transfer organization within a university, which we took out of the university and made it a wholly owned subsidiary of the university, UCL Business, that deals with all the transactional activity. The third part of the process is the traditional academic departments, whose main concern, of course, is research, publishing, and teaching. UCL Advances develops relationships within UCL and gets engagement in enterprise. It undertakes both internal and external training programs. So it has training programs for business as well and brings business together with our undergraduates, postgraduates, and staff, and is concerned with trying to enhance the belief that an enterprise culture is really important, not simply for generating new activities within the university, but actually to make our graduates more employable as well, giving them an idea about what business is all about. It's taking rather a... UCL's business's role, of course, is the traditional one of developing the intellectual property of the institution and hopefully to generate capital and revenue, both identify capital and revenue to drive the development of that intellectual property, but hopefully also to bring revenue back into the university. Academic departments, well, they do their usual thing, disseminating information, knowledge creation.